It is fantastic. And you won an Emmy, well-deserved Emmy for it.
No, there's really nothing I could say.
Alec Baldwin, who has been loud about his dislike for Donald Trump, has recently taken things to a different level by leaking this about Donald Trump. What did he say? If you have ever seen or heard Alec talk about President Donald Trump, you will feel the hate in his words and vibes. But how and what he said here was totally different.
Well, his children seem loyal to him, which I got to give him credit for that. I mean, normally I think if somebody was, I don't want to believe it's all about their inheritance.
So far, Alec sounded like an advocate of Trump. However, that wasn't all he had to say.
I want to think that Trump's children are very loyal to him. That must say something for him, because otherwise his kids could just vanish.
The honesty from Alec says a lot. If what he said about Trump is true, then Trump must have done a great job.
Yeah. I mean, they certainly have the resources to put some money in their pocket and take off, and they don't really have to be. But they're fiercely loyal to him, so that has to matter for something.
What is going on here? Why is Alec showering Trump with praise? It could be too early to conclude, as he goes on to say more.
But so I do recognize that about him. But in terms of his politics, no, there's really nothing I could say.
And this is where it begins to get really interesting.
I do think that people are, and I could be wrong, but I do think that people are growing, not so much weary of it, more
He wasn't done yet, still having a lot on his chest to spill.
They think it's funny, but they don't know if it's achieving any practical purposes. It's a satire that's not really leading.
This is where the real Alec Baldwin began to emerge.
The effect you hope satire will have. Trump, some people would say to me very pointedly,
He still had a lot more to say as he was constructively making his arguments.
You helped Trump get elected, you humanized him, and you kind of trivialized him in a way that softened him to the public. And I didn't, that certainly wasn't the point.
What he just said here made it clear where he stands. Obviously, this guy is never going to be a Trump guy.
Trump was someone who, regardless of whether he was parodied or not, regardless of who did the parody and what was written, I thought Trump was someone who was completely
You thought you had heard it all, but it gets even crazier.
President. All these things were surfaced about his misogyny and women and things like that. And I thought, oh God, this is just, dust off the
Could this be the height of disrespect? Alex seemed to be unapologetically airing his mind.
For Hillary Clinton, and I thought there was just no way he could have won with all those things that were out there about him. But, it's historic.
What he said here showed how he felt about how everything played out politically for Trump.
It's an historic about face, if you will, of public opinion. So it's
Undoubtedly, Alec is in a tank with the shark. Will there be consequences for his decision?
Do not have any fear whatsoever that something's going to happen. My taxes are going to get audited or that kind of thing. I don't really fear that.
I think Alec carefully chose his fight as he continued to speak.
I think that Trump is someone who, no matter what we did, if we really had softened it, I mean, if you had someone do sketches.
And what he spilled out next was completely over the roof.
Where they exalted Trump. If the Fox News division had a comedy show, I mean, I know that that's incongruous, but if
this is where he gave it a landing.
They had a comedy show and they just celebrated Trump in a humorous way, nonetheless, he wouldn't be happy.
And what he said here was a total revelation. Completely insane and unbelievable.
He was happy with anything that's said about him in the modern world and media.
Did you think that was all Alec had to say about Trump? You need to see this.
If Trump kept his mouth shut, if he said more sensible things, there's a script he could have read from. He could have Trojan horsed himself in there. He might have won.
Man, that was a daring way to talk. It seems as though Alec had seen the future, and that wasn't all.
I mean, Trump's not going to win. I'm pretty convinced he's not going to win. And he has no one to blame but himself. Because she was beatable. And he just has said so many.
And what he added was even more bold and daring on a huge level.
Reality shows and television as it exists today, you can emerge inside those programs and create an impression on people that is a false impression.
Still trying to make his point, he said the following.
Did traditional drama that was remotely like The Apprentice would have portrayed Trump in the same light.
Whoa, that was a heavy blow below the belt, and he wasn't still done.
It just seems like corruption and just beating the hell out of everybody all day long and just wearing people down. I mean, when have we ever had less faith in government than we do now?
And this is where Alec got really dramatic in his display of total disgust for Trump.
I gotta say, you playing Trump on Saturday Night Live, we've all loved it. It's fantastic. It is fantastic. And you won an Emmy, well-deserved Emmy for it.
In the bit to show his irritation for Trump, Alec almost didn't allow Jimmy Fallon to ask his question. And what transpired was more interesting.
But in some article, I think it was with Vanity Fair, maybe you said, like, it's like agony.
It's not like agony, it is.
Yeah.
And the way he answered the question was really something.
But you do that, like, everybody knows, my friends know, not everybody knows, that, he came to me, Lorne, said, do the Trump thing, and we thought we're going to do it for 3 shows.
But he was just starting to let the whole world in on his mind.
There's no way he was going to win.
Yeah.
And then he won, and I remember just like laying in bed going, oh no. Because knowing Lorne,
I got a gig now, yeah.
I mean, Lorne's going to be like, hello. So, I mean.
Even though he sounded hilarious, this guy was onto something.
It's just a couple. We do the whole season, then we do a few of them this year. And it's, yeah. I don't need to tell you. It gets exhausting after a while.
And for the first time, this is what Trump had to say to Alec.
The president himself said...
Exhibit A.
Alec Baldwin, whose dying mediocre career was saved by his terrible impersonation of me on SNL.
He landed with the following words, and man, his words were piercing.
Playing me was agony. Alec, it was agony for those who were forced to watch.
Jeez, that was an uppercut, and Alec, who couldn't take it, had to defend himself.
Well, the interesting thing is nobody's actually forced to watch. I found that out. We don't force anyone
You're choosing to watch, yeah.
The way Alec responded obviously showed that he was still trying to recover from the hit from Trump, he added.
Trump forces people to listen to him. I guess we call them government employees. But anyway, we call them the cabinet.
Then you need to hear what Jimmy Fallon read to Alec.
Tweeted back, agony though it may be, I'd like to hang in there, at least for the impeachment hearings, the resignation speech, the farewell helicopter ride to Mar-a-Lago. You know, the good stuff. The good stuff.
Even though Alec's time with Jimmy Fallon didn't end so well, what he said on the Howard Stern show was the most disrespectful thing he has ever said about Trump.
If Trump was the nominee, let alone won the election, but even if Trump was the GOP nominee, it's exactly what we deserve right now with the system we have. There's a part of me that would love to see Trump.
At first, you could wonder what's going on here until you hear what he said next.
We'd love to see Trump be the Republican nominee and run for president as the rep, and say to ourselves, because I'm a huge campaign.
And the question asked laid everything bare.
I'd say this is exactly what your money has destroyed the American political system. All these guys are like.
So you are endorsing Donald Trump?
These guys
is that
are all
fair
like
to say?
NASCAR drivers with the stickers on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who owns.
What Alex said in response was nothing short of insanity and bluntness married together.
Since endorsing Trump,
And that goes with Democrat or Republican.
Right.
Hillary, all of them across the board are owned by somebody. They're owned by somebody.
It's the system you have to.
In the end, everyone has a right to express themselves. But do you think Alex went too far? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.